Chair recognizes Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Some members in this chamber may not know that I have the privilege of serving as the Minority Vice Chair on the School Aid Subcommittee on Appropriations. It's been a tremendous learning curve. This is a complicated budget. It's a very, very important budget. I first do want to thank Chairman Kelly. He was always very gracious in talking with me about priorities or ideas that I had. I believe that he was open as he could be. And clearly we had different priorities and perspectives when it came to education funding and what those priorities should be and where those dollars should go. I still say that this process was rushed and not as thoughtful as it could have been with more time and more hearings. We have a May revenue estimating conference, and we have a proposal. Both can greatly impact what this budget ultimately looks like in the end. And we could have passed a budget at the end of May, having more information, better numbers, and more time for committee hearings and time to look into some of these complicated issues. So many of my colleagues before me spoke, I think, very eloquently on some of the challenges and problems that many of us in our caucus have with this budget. And I don't want to repeat all of them. I don't think I could articulate them as well as some of the others before me have been or have stated. And there is no doubt that there are some good things in this budget. But it's interesting to me how different this budget is from what the governor recommended to what the Senate recommended. It is very different. And I can understand a perspective of maybe doing some things differently for the sake of creating a conversation on some of these issues. But at the end of the day, I really do believe that there were some decisions made in this budget that ultimately are not putting the dollars where they are needed most. You've heard a number of my colleagues talk about the $100 million of at-risk funding, right? We put hundreds of millions of dollars into at-risk. This was additional money because we know it costs more to educate kids in poverty, and the number of kids in poverty is increasing across our state. It's not just an urban issue. There are so many communities throughout the state of Michigan, all corners of our state, where kids are impacted by poverty. And these are dollars that are supposed to be specifically directed to help those kids. And when we roll that money up into the foundation allowance, you look at a $296.4 million increase in the foundation allowance, and you say, wow, that's fantastic. But I think you really have to look at how we get there. I mean, almost a third of it is that $100 million of at-risk money that gets rolled up into that foundation allowance. And then every student benefits from that, but it dilutes its purpose and its intention of helping kids who are living in poverty excel in school. Another piece of how we get to that increase in the foundation allowance is decreasing what's called the MIPSR's offset. You know, all of our school districts have to pay a percentage of their payroll into the retirement system. And there was a commitment made that the state would pay $100 million to help keep that percentage down to support our school districts in making those payments. So there's a reduction of $50 million, which is going to take even more money, you know, away from our schools. I think the most troubling part of this budget for me is the winners and the losers. 41 schools who get the maximum net increase of $299 per student. What a fantastic increase. They're all charter schools. How does that work out, that they're all charter schools? Five cyber schools in this state are going to get the $299. while some of our traditional brick and mortar schools are going to get $25. You know, for many years, there's been debate and consideration and votes taken to create equity in school funding, to close that gap between those who get the highest and those who get the lowest. And it's a complicated formula, no doubt. But I don't see how we're working to close that gap when there's $2.99 to $25. So I am not able to support this budget, but I do look forward to continuing to work with Chairman Kelly in the conference committee process, and I am hopeful that we can help the kids that need it most. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Roberts.
Mr. Speaker, on the question of final passage of House Bill 4115, there are 60 aye votes and 50 nay votes.
A majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed.